Hello everyone, my name is Nur Sasi Ramadona. In this video, I would like to tell you about my analysis of a movie. So, I have watched a movie called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, also called Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, is a fantasy movie directed by Chris Columbus and distributed by Warner Bros., based on J.K. Rowling's novel of the same name. The movie is about 2.5 hours long. And now, I would like to tell you briefly what is this film about. Albus Dumbledore, a head of a wizarding school named Hogwarts, along with deputy headmistress Minerva McGonagall, and also Hogwarts groundskeeper Rubeus Hagrid, one night arrived at a housing complex on the road to private drive to deliver a baby to Vernon Dursley and also Petunia Dursley. The little baby is named Harry Potter, an orphan who survived the attack of an evil wizard who is often called you-know-who, because his name cannot be named. He is Lord Voldemort, having a scar on his forehead as a result of the incident made Harry known as the special one among wizards. When Harry was 11 years old, Harry had the opportunity to escape from the evil Dursley family, his uncle and aunt. He also had the opportunity to be part of the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft. There, he met many new friends including Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger, and on the other hand also met a competitor named Draco Malfoy. Harry felt great excitement in his new place, especially when he was entrusted with being a seeker for the Gryffindor Quidditch team. Unfortunately, his excitement also brought Harry along with Ron and Hermione into big trouble, starting from being suspicious and curious about his potion teacher, Severus Snape, and going through various obstacles with his friends. To save the Philosopher's Stone, Harry meets the figure who has been waiting for him, you-know-who, or Lord Voldemort. So that's it about the movie. And now I would like to review about characterization. The first character is Harry Potter, the protagonist of the movie, who is gradually transformed from timid weakling to powerful hero by the end. As he matures, he shows himself to be caring and shrewd, and a loyal friend and an excellent Quidditch player. The second character is Hermione Granger, who studies too much and obeys the school rules too zealously. Hermione eventually becomes friendly with Harry after she learns to value friendship over perfectionism and obedience. Her character illustrates the social adjustment problems often faced by new students at Hogwarts. The third is Ron Weasley, a shy, modest boy who comes from an impoverished wizard family. He lacks Harry's gusto and charisma, but his loyalty and help are useful to Harry throughout their adventures. Ron's mediocrity, despite his wizard background, reminds us that success at Hogwarts is based solely on talent and hard work, not on family connections. Ron's willingness to be beaten up by the monstrous Cheese Queen shows how selfless and generous he is. The next is Hagrid, a giant who works as a groundskeeper at Hogwarts. Rubeus Hagrid is a well-meaning creature with more kindness than brains. He cares deeply for Harry as evidenced by the tears he sheds upon having to leave the infant Harry with the Dursleys. His fondness for animals is enduring even if it gets him into trouble, as when he tries raising a dragon at home. The next there is Albus Dumbledore, the kind, wise head of Hogwarts. Though he is a famous wizard, Dumbledore is as humble and adorable as his name suggests. He appears to have an almost superhuman level of wisdom, knowledge, and personal understanding, and it seems that he may have set up the whole quest for the Sorcerer's Stone so that Harry could prove himself. And next, there is Voldemort, a great wizard gone bad. When he killed Harry's parents, Voldemort gave Harry a lightning-shaped scar. Voldemort is associated both with high-flying magic and with deceit throughout the movie. He is determined to escape death by finding the Sorcerer's Stone. Voldemort's weak point is that he cannot understand love and thus cannot touch Harry's body, which still bears the traces of Harry's mother's love for her son. Next, Draco Malfoy, an arrogant student and Harry's nemesis. Malfoy is a rich snob from a long line of wizards who feels entitled to the Hogwarts experience. He makes fun of the poor Ron Weasley and advises Harry to choose his friends more carefully. As the story progresses, Malfoy becomes more and more inimical to Harry and his friends, and there is a hint that he may grow up to become another Voldemort. Next, there is Neville Longbottom, a timid Hogwarts classmate of Harry's. Neville is friendly and loyal, but like Ron, he lacks Harry's charisma. And like Hermione, he is initially too obedient, and when the time comes to go after the Sorcerer's Stone, he fears punishment and threatens to report his friends to the teachers. Next, Professor McGonagall, the head of Gryffindor House at Hogwarts, and a high-ranking woman in the wizard world. Minerva McGonagall is fair but extremely stern and severe in her punishments. Her devotion to the letter of the law is impressive but a bit cold, and we constantly feel that she could never become a warm and wise figure like Dumbledore. Next, Professor Snape, a professor of potions at Hogwarts. Severus Snape dislikes Harry and appears to be an evil man for most of the film. Snape's grudge against Harry, which is nevertheless far from a murderous ill will, helps us remember the difference between forgivable vices and unforgivable evil intentions. Next, Professor Quirrell, a stuttering and seemingly harmless man, and a professor of defense against the dark arts at Hogwarts. Quirrell appears as nervous and squirrely as his name suggests for most of the film. It is he, for example, who nearly faints when announcing the news that a troll is loose in the school. It turns out later, however, that Quirrell has faked his withdrawing meekness and is actually a cold-blooded conniver. Next, Vernon Dursley, Harry's rich uncle, with whom Harry lives for 10 miserable years. Dursley symbolizes the Muggle world at its most silly and mediocre. It is through Mr. Dursley's jaded Muggle eyes that we first glimpse wizards and his closed-mindedness towards the colorful cloaks and literate cats that he meets emphasize how different the human and wizard worlds are. Next, Petunia Dursley, Mr. Dursley's wife. Petunia is an overly doting mother to her spoiled son, Dudley, and a prison keeper to Harry. She is haughty and excessively concerned with what the neighbors think of her family. She is somewhat humanized for us when we discover that she was always jealous of the magical gift of her sister Lily, Harry's witch mother. Next, Dudley Dursley, Harry's cousin, a spoiled fat bully, annoying and loud. Dudley manipulates parental love to get what he wants. His outrageous desires for multiple television sets foreshadow the important scenes involving the mirror of a wrist and the wrongful desire for eternal life that motivates Voldemort. Dudley's tormenting of Harry foreshadows Malfoy's later bullying tendencies at Hogwarts, though he is less gifted than Malfoy. This movie used a forward plot to explain events from start to finish based on the sequence of time, but there are a few scenes where a snippet of Harry's past is shown. This film uses several places setting the house at the Dursleys family at the beginning of the story, and then on the train, the Hogwarts Express, then using the Hogwarts School Castle. I got some moral values after watching this movie. The first is, it's important to remain humble. Dumbledore left Harry with the Dursley because he didn't want him growing up famous. It would be enough to turn any boy's head, he told McGonagall. Living with the Dursleys gave Harry a whole new set of problems, but it certainly kept him humble. When Harry learned about his past, he felt unequal to it, embarrassed by strangers' responses, modest about his part in Voldemort's downfall, worried about his lack of knowledge. He might not have been aware of it, but this very human vulnerability would actually help Harry. When he arrived at Hogwarts, Harry was ready to learn. Unlike Voldemort, he responded to kindness, not power. He wanted friends, not followers. He looked for help, not to intimidate. And the second lesson is love conquers hate. The most significant of Harry's advantages was love. Harry survived Voldemort's curse because of his mother's instinct to protect him. Love literally saved Harry's life, and its power remained as the magic associated with his mother's sacrifice took root in the home of his only surviving relative. Next, friendship and loyalty beats wealth and status. The first time Harry met Draco Malfoy, he knew they wouldn't be friends. Malfoy's reaction to Harry before he knew his name was disinterested and sneering. Yet, when they met again, he extended the hand of friendship. Harry, unimpressed by Malfoy's dismissal of Ron, wouldn't take it. He didn't need to be an expert in the wizarding world to see through Malfoy. Money and power were not important to Harry, who grew up without much of either, subsequently discovered a bit of both, and still gravitated towards the things that he was really lacking: friendship, affection, and loyalty. This was what Harry regarded as important, and like love, it was these things that helped him defeat Voldemort. Next is standing up for yourself is tough but rewarding. On the movie, we learned that Neville Longbottom had grown up in the wizarding world but was more worried than anyone about starting Hogwarts, and his anxieties got the better of him. He was intimidated by Malfoy and too nervous to listen to flying instructor Madame Hook, resulting in a bad start and a broken wrist. He was brave, though the Sorting Hat knew it from the start. With the encouragement of Ron and Harry, Neville started to stand up for himself. Neville showed us that being scared doesn't mean you cannot be brave. On the contrary, standing up when you are scared is what makes you brave. Next is don't be afraid to ask for help. Whether it was nervously asking Mrs. Weasley for help at King's Cross or recovering the Philosopher's Stone with the aid of Ron and Hermione, Harry realized that he wasn't going to get very far in the wizarding world without help. Okay everyone, I think that is my explanation. So thank you for watching and see you!